Hello everyone, I'm Rick and thanks for joining me. First, I'd like to thank all of the channel subscribers. We've just passed the 3,000 mark. So again, thank you all. And if you haven't subscribed, you're just one click away. Clicking that button really will help this channel grow. Today we're looking at another Dongle DAC. For those new to DACs, DAC is an acronym for Digital to Analog Converter. They have many uses, but one of their main uses is to add an analog output on devices that no longer have analog outputs. And more times than not, get better audio quality than what you would get from your 3.5mm out on older devices. I usually assume that viewers looking at these kind of DAC videos already have the basics, but I've gotten enough comments that I figure I'd backtrack a bit. On to today's review of the Eytse HA-05 at currently $65. And I'd like to thank Eytse for sending me this review sample. And they've also given us a discount code, and I'll post that below. We've previously looked at the Eytse HA-03, and I really love this one. But is this new HA-05 at $10 more expensive worth the cost? Let's find out. First, let's take a closer look. The HA-05 comes in the same packaging as the HA-03, and it has the same accessories as well. We have a USB-C to USB-C cable, a USB-C to USB-A adapter, still no lightning adapter, but I'll put a link to this one right here that I found that works very well, and that'll turn your USB-C to lightning for an iPhone. Now this particular USB-C to C cable, it is nice, but I do prefer the cable that comes with the HA-03. This one is a woven USB, and it's just a lot more flexible, and I think I find it easier to plug in and navigate with this one. The HA-05 is nice as well, it's just not quite as flexible, but it still works fine. The case gets upgraded to full aluminum alloy, and it really does look and feel more premium. The finish is in a matte gray, and it's a great finish because it catches no fingerprints, which isn't something that I can say about the HA-03. The HA-05 is slightly heavier, but I wouldn't call either of them heavy at all. They're both non-issues. I'd still consider them both lightweight. We have the same controls on the HA-05 as the HA-03. On one side, we have volume up, pause play, and volume down. And on the opposite side, we have our low and high gain switch. One difference to the HA-03 here is that the HA-03 has a milled out section where the buttons are recessed on both sides, on the gain switch as well as the volume up and down and pause. And I suppose this does help for accidental clicks in your pocket. However, I do prefer the buttons here that are sticking out. I find them just easier to press when they're sticking out a touch. The same thing with the switch. It's just easier to switch. If you have larger hands, I'm sure you'll appreciate the HA-05's buttons a little bit more. The final thing that the HA-05 has here is an LED, and I'll give this unit some power with a phone. And I'll also have to connect headphones for the DAC to turn on. And we'll see that blue LED activate there, telling us that we have power. And once I start playing music, that LED will turn green. One odd thing is that Eytse states that this light is there to help you find the gain indicator. However, it doesn't do very much at all. If I change the gain from low to high, you'll see that it still stays green. It does turn blue in between. However, I think a better use for that LED would have been either as a sample rate indicator, or if the color changed with the gain, like let's say a yellow or a red for high, and then when we went down to low, that green. But as it is, high and low is both green, which is an odd decision. I mean, it looks nice, but I don't think it's necessary. So generally speaking, great build quality. So already, I would say that the upgrade in build quality is definitely worth those extra few dollars. Onto specs, the HA-05 uses the same dual Cirrus Logic CS43131 DAC chips as in the HA-03, the same file handling at up to 32-bit 384 kHz PCM, and DSD to 256. Both have the same impedance matching circuit to optimize for 16 to 600 ohm IEMs or headphones, a hair better THD plus N at 0.0003% on the HA-05 versus 0.0005% on the HA-03. And finally, the biggest difference, the power output. Up to 300 milliwatts on the HA-05 versus 162 milliwatts on the HA-03. And this was very evident on my listening sessions. So this is the setup right here. And the first thing that we have is a hub connected right here, and that goes to the computer. These two go to the DACs, the HA-3 and the HA-5. From there, we get the signal over to our switch, the QB-Lux, that has 4 inputs here. So on 1 and 2 are our DACs, and then we have 3 and 4 empty, and the last one is our output. Now we have this switch here, which we can turn left and right to select what we want to hear. And the output goes to this TRS that goes over to the recorder. Now we'll be able to check the meters and make sure that the volume is matched. So let's head on over to the software. Over here in Roon, we have a 1 kHz test tone playing. And if we go over here, we can see that I've grouped the HA-3 and the HA-5. They'll both be getting the same output to the DACs. I'll turn the recorder on. And the recorder is ready for signal. Now I'll play this 1 kHz test tone, and we'll see that we're getting minus 30 decibels on the meters. If I switch over to the other DAC, once again minus 30 decibels, and we're matched. At this point I can disconnect the recorder, I can bring over my headphones and plug in my 1/4 inch into the output, and the headphones are ready to go. Now if we check the volume output here in Roon, we can see that the HA-3 is set to 87, while the HA-5 is set to 19. So quite a bit more output out of the HA-5 for sure. And now that I'm volume matched, I can get testing on some music. So the HA-05s can go a lot louder than the HA-03s, but on easy to drive headphones, like my Sitka Robins, on the HA-03 even at 60 that was more than loud enough for me. So what did I hear? Well, the tonal characteristics are about the same, but the HA-05 was a touch more dynamic with a little bit more detail. The bass was also slightly more controlled. Not a night and day difference, but when switching back and forth, definitely noticeable. I did also notice that the HA-05 does get warm to touch, but never hot. And since the HA-05 does have that higher output, it might drain your phone's battery a little bit faster, but for me the upgrade in detail, dynamics, and output is a fair trade-off. And what more can I say? If you're looking for a dongle DAC, definitely consider the Eytses. And spend that extra $10 and get the HA-05. That's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.